The good times are continuing to roll here in Dallas, Texas. The Stars have increased their win streak up to 6 games, and they've won 7 straight at home. On today's show, I'll give you a complete rundown of what happened in last night's matchup against the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll talk about the Stars' top line continuing to wreak havoc. We'll talk about Tyler Seguin and Jani Hakanpaa, and then we'll close out the show talking about the win streak and where this win streak stands as far as the history of the NHL and the Stars franchise. All of this coming up on a Friday edition of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Dane Lewis. It is Friday, December 3rd. And, as if Fridays weren't great already, it is a victory Friday for the Dallas Stars and for us, the Dallas Stars fan base. What a time to be a fan of this team. Some exciting stuff happening within the Dallas Stars organization here in the city of Dallas in the Metroplex. The Texas Rangers are out here signing some stud mid infielders. The Dallas Mavericks are, piecing together a pretty good season overall. The Dallas Cowboys beat the New Orleans Saints last night. Good times happening here in Dallas. And I feel like it's headlined by the Dallas Stars getting their 6th consecutive win over the Columbus Blue Jackets last night, 3-2. It's a very, very exciting stuff, and we're going to break down that game today and talk about some of the big storylines from the game. Before I do get started, though, I do want to take a moment. I would be remiss to pass on this opportunity to just send out my best wishes to Mike Heika, senior staff writer for the Dallas Stars. I'm sure many of you follow him on Twitter, know about Mike Heika, are familiar with his work. He did tweet out yesterday that he recently had a stroke and is now on the road to recovery. Obviously was using social media to let people know, but prayers up for him. Mike is one of the nicest people I've met in the sports industry, in media, in my short time in the sports media industry. Very kind to me, every interaction I've had with him. One of the nicest people I've met that works with the Stars. So I hope, Mike, that you recover quick. And I know myself and Stars Nation are in your corner supporting you along the way. Whether this is your first time listening to Locked On Stars or you are a recurring listener, thank you for stopping by today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. I truly do appreciate it. Be sure to subscribe and follow the podcast wherever you get your podcast at, whether that is on your favorite podcasting platform or on YouTube as well. Thank you guys for the continued support as far as follows and subscriptions. I appreciate every single one of you that support the show. But without any further ado, let's jump into a recap of last night's game, starting with another fantastic performance from the Dallas top liner, maybe better known as the Minutemen, as I was seeing that name thrown around on social media. Which I like. I like that name, the Minutemen, for this Dallas Stars team and for this Dallas Stars top line, which continues to be lethal across the game, but especially in the first minute or 2 minutes, 75 seconds of hockey games. That top line was back at it again with their quick scoring. Jason Robertson nets a goal 1 minute and 8 seconds into the game. I had just sat down in my seat. I was, at the game, just out in the crowd with some buddies, not in the press box tonight, out with just some buddies at the game. We had gotten a little late to the arena, just sat in our seats as the puck was dropping. And I mean, just as I sat down, I had to stand back up and celebrate because Jason Robertson scored a goal very, very quickly. And now the Dallas Stars are the first team in NHL history to score in the first 75 seconds of a matchup in 4 straight games. So the Dallas Stars on a win streak, breaking records. They'll break records, they'll break point streaks, they'll break win streaks like they did with the Colorado Avalanche a while back. This Stars team is just on a roll, and they can't do very many things wrong, it seems, at the moment. Just absolutely incredible. Obviously was expecting a big performance from this team tonight. And you think eventually they're going to stop scoring in the first minute, 2 minutes of games, but that they seem to show no sign of slowing down up to this point. Absolutely incredible to see. And of Stars players that have attempted 30 or more shots this season, the top line leads the way in shooting percentage. Jason Robertson at 18.4 shooting percentage on the Dallas Stars. Joe Pavelski, excuse me, I'm mixing up names again. Joe Pavelski, 17.5% shot percentage, shooting percentage on this season so far. And Roope Hintz, 16.9% on his shooting percentage so far this season. So those three guys continue to lead the way for this team, putting up the most shots, or, putting up a good amount of shots and finding the most success with the shots that they put up. And they continue to show as a team that scoring early, scoring quick, and setting the tone early is beneficial. It yields good results for your hockey team. They helped give Dallas a boost at the end of the second period when Joe Pavelski and Jason Robertson teamed up yet again for a goal. Also, thanks for a nice outlet pass from Ryan Suter. Joe Pavelski makes a really, really nice move on the breakaway. It was a 2-on-2 situation. Columbus seemed prepared to defend Robertson and Pavelski coming across the blue line, but Joe Pavelski makes a nice move, loses his defender, shakes him off, hits Robertson on a nice pass, and Jason Robertson did the rest. They connected where Pavelski got an assist, and Robertson scored the goal at the beginning of the game. So nice to see those two guys continuing to have a good chemistry for the line as a whole. Roope did not get a point tonight, but still played very well with his line mates, Jason and Joe. So he was still there at the party, just not the center of attention this time. He was sharing the love a little bit after scoring his hat trick on Tuesday. But if you haven't done this already, whether you're at the game, watched it on TV, you should go find the highlight of Jason's second goal in the second period and just watch his reaction after that second goal. You can just tell how much fun he is having. You can see how much fun this team is having. Look at the expression on Robo's face after he scores that goal. Man, this team is embracing this moment of this win streak. Obviously, we've talked about with the veterans on this team, they know that, things need to be business as usual, and they can't get caught up in this moment and start to fall back and lose sight of what the main goal really is, and that's to be hoisting the Stanley Cup trophy at the end of the season. But man, you got to enjoy this moment as a team while you're in it, right? I mean, it's not very often you get to win, this many games consecutively, especially after the start to the season that the Stars had. This is just a huge turnaround. They're continuing to show dominance. I wouldn't say tonight's win was necessarily dominant, but it was a nice win nonetheless. This just comes as a result, the guys are having fun, and it comes as a result of them creating high quality shot opportunities. The Dallas Stars rank 6th in the NHL and Fenwick 4. Fenwick is a stat that measures any unblocked shots by a team, and the Dallas Stars currently rank 6th in the entire league in unblocked shots. So that means they're taking a lot of shots at the net that aren't getting blocked, that aren't really getting contested by other people other than the goalie, obviously. But, a lot of these goals uncontested. The probability of the puck finding the net in those situations is a lot higher than if someone is in the way to block the shot, or at least contest it with their stick, or, blind the vision of the shooter. So really, really nice. The Dallas Stars offense is certainly hitting their stride. Even if they're not always scoring, they're at least getting high quality looks. And so hopefully they will continue to do that, because that has been a huge key to their success so far in this young season, and why they've been so dominant offensively over the span of this 6-game win streak. The win streak has also extended at home to 7 in a row. The one Stars loss in recent memory, which not too recent, I don't want to ponder on it, was that ugly 7-2 loss to Minnesota, but that was on the road. Before then, the Stars had won a few games at home. And so obviously, people will probably argue that the Stars are benefiting from a lot of home cooking, and that's a fair argument. I can definitely understand that argument. You saw how they played against a high quality opponent like Minnesota on the road. I don't think that's the same Stars team we're seeing now. They obviously did win a tough, hard fought game on the road in Arizona, and they're about to hit the road yet again here in just a couple of days, or a few days rather, to play a 3-game road trip out west. And we'll talk about that a little later in the show. But really loving what I'm seeing from this Dallas Stars team, whether they are benefiting from playing at home or not. You can't deny how great they're playing and how great this offense has been by creating high quality chances and just having fun with one another. I think that that's also part of it, is these guys have built a great chemistry. Like we said before on the show, a lot of these guys have been with this team for a while, and there is some great established chemistry from that bubble run back in the fall of 2020. But even some of these new younger guys, Robertson, and even guys like Luke Glendening and Michael Raffle and Braden Holtby seem to be fitting in just fine. And they've been welcomed in with open arms, and this team seems to have some fantastic chemistry. And of course, that's going to help you in the long run, no matter what sport you're playing in. But the Stars are benefiting from it greatly right now. Coming up next, we will take a moment and talk about some other guys that had a huge impact on this game, but maybe won't get as much of the credit. Not because they don't deserve it, but because they aren't on the Dallas Stars top line. But they certainly deserve to be talked about. Some guys, one of these guys, I haven't really got to talk about very much on the show, but we will get to that in just a second. After I say thank you to one of the sponsors of today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Boost Mobile. You listen to podcasts for the power of knowledge. You switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money. You can get 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month per line, and a free 5G phone when you switch, so you can get the latest episodes of your favorite podcast wherever you are at, all on one of America's largest 5G networks. More power to save on Boost Mobile. Moving on to the next segment of today's episode of Locked On Stars, your first listen of the day. I do want to take a moment and acknowledge some of the lesser known heroes from last night's victory. We talked about Jason Robertson. We talked about Joe Pavelski, and that top line from the Dallas Stars leading the way, and then slamming the door shut and giving the Dallas Stars the lead for the evening. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the earlier stages of the middle frame and the goal that tied the game for the Dallas Stars. The Stars did find themselves down 2-1 at one point in this game. Things seemed a little bleak for a moment as the Stars seemed to be putting together yet another poor middle frame. The Stars have not necessarily played well up until recently in the second period in a lot of their games. The second period has been when they've showed a lot of their weaknesses, and let teams, build some momentum, build leads, or where the Stars have surrendered leads. And Dallas seemed to be kind of going back towards their old ways in this game. And it was a little scary. I'm not going to lie. I was a little nervous watching the Columbus Blue Jackets take that 2-1 lead. But then the Dallas Stars flipped the script, took the lead, tied the game, took the lead back, and never looked back and gave the Columbus Blue Jackets a chance to get back in the game. Tyler Seguin scored off of a deflection, off a shot from Jani Hakanpaa, who also assisted on Robo's first goal of the game. Nice to see Jani Hakanpaa get the second star of the game at last night's matchup against Columbus, with 2 assists on the night. A guy that we don't talk about a whole lot on this show, a guy who's typically going to be at the bottom of the depth chart as far as defenseman goes, but he was one of the new acquisitions for this Stars team over the offseason. And obviously this coaching staff saw something in Jani Hakanpaa that they said, hey, we want whatever he has on this team. And I think he's a guy, that still has, needs to develop his game a little bit. Hasn't been in the National Hockey League too long, so we shouldn't be expecting him to be playing his best hockey yet. But I think he's just going to continue to get better as this season goes on. So really like to see Jani Hakanpaa getting involved, getting some assists on the evening. A nice shot on goal from him that bounced off Tyler into the goal. Nice to see Tyler Seguin get back in the scoring column. I feel like he's been a little quiet on the score sheet as of late, but always nice to see, him, Jamie Benn, Alexander Radulov, some of these older veterans that maybe aren't getting as much spotlight as a guy like Joe Pavelski, see them get involved. Always really encouraging to see. Tyler Seguin, obviously a fan favorite. You see his jersey behind me right now. If you're watching on YouTube, you always see his jersey everywhere at the American Airlines Center. Beloved by Stars fans. So really, really nice to see him get involved. And it was, like I said, it was a nice response from this team after the unassisted effort from Boone Jenner in the first, and then the Texier goal in the second, kind of just a result of a breakaway there. And we've seen this Dallas Stars team kind of roll over when things get tough. We've seen them, be in those situations where they either blow a lead or kind of give up some bang momentum type plays, get to the opposition. And we've seen the Dallas Stars not really be able to get themselves back in a groove and get themselves back into a game. But that was not the case this time around, which was really nice to see. And I'm really, am being a more firm believer every day that is, a Stars team that is now in the past, that was, existent earlier in the season, like when we played Columbus earlier in the year, back in the early fall, just in one of the more disappointing games of the season. That team is long gone. Those Dallas Stars hopefully will never make another appearance this season. again. This team found a way to win despite Columbus playing very physical and competitive. This Columbus team deserves a lot of credit. They were playing a third string goalie who had to be called up from the AHL because their two starting goalies are facing non-COVID illnesses. And just, this team has been struggling as of late with, like I said on yesterday's show, 2 losses to 2 other Central Division opponents, pretty big beatings, I might add, at the hands of the Blues and the Predators. So this team is kind of going through a lot right now, kind of on a downward slope of their own, but they played competitive. They played fiery. This team deserves a lot of credit, and they're a good team this season. Columbus isn't always in the discussion as one of the better teams in the NHL, but they are surprising some people this season. They had 24 points going into last night's game. Obviously, they did not come away with any points, but this is still a good competitive team, with some really nice pieces. And obviously, they weren't at full health with Patrick Laine out, missing a few other guys as well. So this was a gritty win from the Dallas Stars, not necessarily their prettiest win of the season, not their prettiest win of this win streak, but an important win nonetheless to grind out a game that was challenging and difficult at times. There was, moments, like I said, where there was uncertainty. There was kind of this feeling of maybe the win streak is going to come to an end in the second period. Obviously, that sounds a little dramatic since the Stars were only down by 1 goal. But like I said, we've seen the Stars team, have moments like that where they're only down by 1 or 2 and things just kind of snowball rapidly and get out of hand quickly. So props to the Dallas Stars for, keeping their composure, just playing the game as they, have been playing over the past several matchups, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Even if you're not in the most desirable of circumstances, you can see a team, grind it out, continue to play their game, and more often than not, it's going to work out. And we saw that with this Stars team last night. Coming up next to close out today's episode, I just want to take a moment and kind of dive into the meaningfulness of this win streak and just talk about it as a whole, kind of, talk about the good vibes of it, I guess, if you will. Just send you on your way for the weekend talking about, the positivities surrounding basically this podcast for the past week or so and just the Dallas Stars in general. But before we do that, I do want to take a moment and say thank you to some of the other sponsors of today's episode. The first of those being BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered all season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. As football season continues to march towards the playoffs, BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to the new, updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Today's episode is also brought to you by Built Bar. This holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, or even better than a candy bar. Built Bars are filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with decadent flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and high in protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. Built Bar gives you that extra fuel you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all of those holiday shoppers. Or if you're just standing in endless shopping lines, Built Bar can give you an extra something to keep you going. So throw one in your jacket or your purse. You never know when you're going to need it. Want to cozy up with something warm? Here's a holiday secret. Dip your Built Bar into a piping cup of hot cocoa. Let it melt and give your beverage a bit of that Built Bar flavor. Plus, you'll have a nice melty Built Bar to go with it. Be sure to have a couple napkins on hand for that melted chocolate. You can go to Built.com right now and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Again, you can use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your order at Built.com. And to close out today's episode of Lock on Stars, I just want to take a moment and address this win streak, kind of from a bird's eye view. I know I've been very excited on this show this week, maybe making some hot takes, overreactions. I've just been very, very excited recording these episodes. I know I've talked about before. It's always fun to record when this team's winning, not always fun when they're losing. I do enjoy it regardless. I'm grateful for this opportunity, but especially during weeks like this where the Dallas Stars are on a win streak, sometimes I just got to take a moment and just kind of take a deep breath. Take a deep breath with me if you'd like, Star fans, because I know I need it. Don't want to get too overwhelmed by the moment. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff right there. But nonetheless, this is a very great moment for the Dallas Stars, especially with the start they had earlier this season. This is just absolutely incredible. Obviously, a 6-game win streak isn't anything huge. We are seeing the Phoenix Suns in the NBA go on like a 17, 18 game win streak. So the Dallas Stars aren't even necessarily the hottest team in North American sports, but still the hottest team in the National Hockey League. And it's crazy that they're getting very close, the Stars are, to breaking the franchise record for most consecutive wins. Their longest win streak in franchise history is 7 games. They've reached that mark 5 times, most recently in the 2019-2020 season. So not too long ago, have the Dallas Stars, been on a win streak of this magnitude. Obviously, on Monday, they'll have a chance to tie that record, 6 times that the Stars have won 7 in a row, which is still impressive nonetheless, but a good ways away from the longest win streak in NHL history, which is 17 from the 1992-1993 Penguins, led by, of course, Mario Lemieux, one of the greatest players of all time, one of the greatest scorers of all time. A fantastic Pittsburgh Penguins team winning 17 games in a row, and that is currently the NHL record. That is a long way to go for the Dallas Stars. They would need to win 11 more games as of, right now to even tie that. Can they do it? Not necessarily for me to say, like I've said before, it's hard to bet against this team right now. I'm personally not ever going to predict that they lose as long as they keep winning. So I mean, would love to see it. That'd be a crazy storyline to talk about, but let's not cross that bridge till we get there. But that is the current NHL record, in case you were unaware: 17 wins in a row from the 1992-1993 Pittsburgh Penguins. Dallas does, however, have the longest current active winning streak in the league right now at 6. But there's some other hot teams in the league right now, not too far behind. The Minnesota Wild have won 5 straight. The Toronto Maple Leafs have also won 5 straight. The New York Rangers and the Detroit Red Wings have both won 4. And I believe San Jose and Edmonton have both won 3. A little bit smaller win streaks, but still all eyes are on Dallas because there are some other hot teams. But of course, Dallas is the cream of the crop right now with 6. So pretty much everyone not a fan of the Dallas Stars probably wants to see this team fall, wants to see this team fail, unless they're just fans of the NHL and good hockey and want to see how long this streak can last. Because we've seen some other teams go on some impressive runs. I know the Ducks went on a really impressive streak. I'm forgetting the number now. But Dallas, is not the first team to kind of be in this spotlight, if you will. But man, what an opportunity for them to continue to keep it going. Like I said, on Monday, they will play the Arizona Coyotes to close out this 3-game homestand that they've had. And then they'll head out west for a 3-game road trip and have some dates with the Vegas Golden Knights, the Los Angeles Kings, and the San Jose Sharks. 2 of these teams we've already seen, but we saw them within the comfort of the American Airlines Center. Obviously, that Golden Knights game is another one that I would really like to forget. A game where Dallas was in control for the majority of the time that was played, and then at the end they fell apart and lost in OT. The Kings game, we can talk about that one a little bit. That was a fun game. The Dallas Stars win that one in OT, thanks to Denis Gurianov's blazing speed. The San Jose Sharks, a team that we have not seen any of this season. It's been a long time since we've played the Sharks, another team that we did not play last season due to COVID-19 kind of shaking up the league and the division realignments. But the Sharks also, like I said earlier, riding a 3-game win streak. So maybe when we meet up with the Sharks, we'll still be on a win streak. Maybe they'll be on a little win streak, and it'll make that game a little extra spicy. So very excited to see how this Stars team competes. Really, for the first time in a while, consecutively on the road. Like I said, they've had a few 1-game road trips to Minnesota and Arizona. But they've been playing a lot at home to make up for the early stretch of the season where they played their first 8 of 11 away from the American Airlines Center. So very, very interested to see, if this Stars team is legit, and if they're able to, take their incredible play, incredible offense on the road, and even their defense. The defense has really stepped up over the past few games. They played a little bend, don't break-ish to last night against Columbus, but still found a way to, help the team get the win. So we're going to find out a lot about this Dallas Stars team. Of course, as a team, they need to focus on this game on Monday, worry about that game first. But then after that, I'm very curious to see how they compete against 3 pretty good teams. I would say pretty good, average to really good. We'll kind of be all over the spectrum on this road trip. But of course, also just, traveling out west, time zone changes, things like that, small factors that don't always play huge roles, but things to consider. And late games that we'll be watching here if you're like me in Texas in the central time zone. But very, very excited to see how this team competes and see how long this win streak can last. I'm enjoying talking about it, and I hope I get to talk about it for a lot longer because it's been one heck of a ride. And there's still a lot of hockey to be played this season. And so, man, this is just, part of the roller coaster of any sports season, but especially, a season like this in the NHL where there's so many games happening. You have those low moments like the Stars have had early in the season, but now we're going up right now, and we seem to be kind of on a mountaintop right now. And, hopefully we're on this mountaintop for a while. And I keep saying it, but I'm excited, and I'm really curious to see how this team competes away from the American Airlines Center from 4 consecutive games against some pretty good teams. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked on Stars. Thank you for making Locked on Stars your first listen of the day. Now go make your second listen of the day Locked on Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. Locked on Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. Be sure to tune in on Monday for a preview of Monday night's matchup against the Arizona Coyotes, a team we played pretty recently on the road and got a win against. Hopefully the Stars can go 2-0 on the season against the Coyotes, but I will give you a preview of that game. We'll catch up with the Coyotes and see what's happened with them after, playing them not too long ago. So be sure to check that out on Monday. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked on Stars wherever you get your podcast at, whether that's on a podcasting platform or on YouTube, where we have crossed over the 80 subscriber threshold on our way to 100 subscribers, which is very, very exciting. So if you haven't already, go subscribe to Locked on Stars on YouTube. I really would appreciate it. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Dane_Lewis. That's at DANE 2_Lewis. And also follow the show's account on Twitter at Locked on Stars. But that's going to do it for today's episode. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you back here on Monday.